What up YouTube, it's your boy WAZZEH. Thanks for clicking on my video today. If you are brand new to the channel, make sure you head down and subscribe. Or if you haven't done it yet, go down, hit the notification bell, support your boy, and I'll be dropping brand new videos as often as possible. Now, moving into today's subject, it's something that has been driving me absolutely insane for the past few years now, and it's the whole debate whether you ride a park or a street deck. Although brands do make decks specifically designed to favor one of the two styles, they don't actually make them in those two categories. So please get that idea out of your head. One of the main issues realistically for me is that kids are going into stores and buying decks pretty much just because they hear it's good or because their favorite rider rides them, and it's not really designed for them, their body shape, their height, whatever else, and progression is really going to be halted. So a few things that you really need to look at when it comes to buying a deck are as follows. Number one, who are your influences? What are you most likely going to aspire to be like when it comes to riding? What style of tricks do you want to learn? Things like that. They really do impact everything when it comes to making this decision. So, for example, if you were to look up to more of a street rider, I'm going to say, for me, it's like someone like Kevin Austin, who is well above 6 foot. His foot size is probably at least a US 12, and he's currently riding a 23-inch long Jabberwoolf deck. So for me then to go and look at that and say, hey, he's my favorite rider, I want to go get that deck. I am not 6 foot tall, I'm actually well under it. I have a size US 8 foot, so drastically smaller than him. And realistically, we don't actually do the same style of tricks. I actually do a little bit more of the park style, I guess you want to call it. I don't do them too often, but I do have them in my trick bag, and I don't want to lose those kind of tricks. Then completely flip the scripts, look at someone like John Marco Gaydos. Now you were going to say he's a little park shredder, whatever, but realistically this dude is going to be riding a lot smaller deck. He's a smaller person, and the trick style he does is going to require a smaller deck to realistically make it easier. What I'm trying to say by that is that there are two completely different styles that you can really take. You can go bang smack in the middle, and there are lots of companies that try and design their products for that. When I was designing my AOS V4 signature deck, I really wanted to be bang smack in the middle, not too small for those guys shredding up in the streets, and not too big for the dudes hammering it in the park. There is something that absolutely changes the game when it comes to length, and that is simply cutting your deck down. If you want to ride the same deck as your idol, I'm going to assume that they may be a little bit taller than you, bigger than you, whatever else, and if you are progressing to their style of tricks, you're probably not going to have the same trick bag or experience doing any of those tricks, so realistically you're going to want a little bit of a smaller deck. Now you can ride the same deck simply by cutting it down with an angle grinder and using a drill to drill out the axle bolts at the back and your brake or chetty fender section, whatever you want to do, that whole brakeless thing. I know it's really in the streets right now. If you need to drill them out for that, all you're going to need realistically those two tools, an angle grinder and a drill. My main worry here is please do not try this at home if you do not have experience using either of those tools. Please get someone that's tech, tool savvy, whatever. Go to your local scooter retailer or a skate shop that sells scooters, and they will most likely be able to do it for you. The next thing to look at is the width of the deck. Now something that really comes into play here is your shoe size. So if you have a rather small foot, you don't necessarily need a rather wide deck, but it can be beneficial when it comes to eliminating things like heel bruise, heel drag, any of those kind of things and tricks. If you have a bit of a wider deck, it's more room to land on. It pretty much makes sense. Another pro to having a wider deck is actually being able to get onto rails when doing 50-50s or coping, anything like that a little bit easier. It is going to have a lot more room to grip and balance on. One of the pros to having a skinnier deck is that it actually whips around a lot easier. You can do a lot of those whippy flippy tricks purely because it is lighter. Now what I'm trying to say is it's not always going to be lighter, but there is a good chance the more metal, the more weight. That's usually how it works, right? So if you're one of the younger riders or the smaller shredders in general, please, you don't need to get one of those super wide decks, 5 point something, whatever else. You don't need it, trust me. You're just adding more weight to the scooter, and it's something that you don't necessarily need. But a lot of the guys out there with size, I'm going to say US 10 and above feet, definitely look at getting something like a 5 wide. That is realistically the way to go. I'm currently a size US 8 and I'm running a 4.7. I like it, but my style of tricks probably would prefer to step up towards a 5, and I think if I get the chance of getting another signature deck with Envy, that is what I'm going to do. The next thing to really take into account is the headship angle. Now this is something that I never ever hear kids talk about anymore, but back in the day it was the talk of the town when it came to your deck. So realistically, I'm riding an 83 degree hedge angle, which is really popular right now. 82.5, 83 seems to be the way to go. What I'm trying to say is though, realistically, if you're riding a scooter with a steeper head tube angle, so more vertically straight, you're going to want to be a taller person or like that setup. If you're a smaller person, you can realistically ride one that is a little further back and it's not going to sit in your lap as though it would for someone that is taller. Now, it doesn't really seem like much and it all comes down to comfort. After a while, you're going to adapt to the scooter you have, but there is a few scooters out there which I realistically couldn't ride because it would feel like the bars are back in my chest. The same thing goes if I was to ride a really big scooter with a straight head tube angle. It is going to feel super far away and not really be comfy. So starting to wrap up the video now, I'm going to cut it down to 5 really important things that you should take into account when it comes to buying your deck. 1, the head tube angle. 2, the length. 3, the width. 4, your favorite riders and brands. And 5, what kind of tricks do you want to do? What kind of rider do you want to be? If you don't take those on board when it comes to buying a deck, you're realistically going to be making a bad decision or something that isn't spot on to what you want. Trust me when I say this, legends, not all scooter retailers are out there to steal your money. When you go into a store, if they are offering you advice, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be quite genuine and they're realistically going to be trying to sell you the best product for you. Now, you might go in there, they're going to give you freedom of choice, whatever else. Pick the deck you want by all means, but if they do give you advice or offer to cut it down, make it more realistically sized for you, please do it. Something that I've really wanted to introduce into the scooter industry lately, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, is something that I recently picked up from snowboarding. They actually use a size guide when it comes to purchasing their boards, and realistically it is based off weight. I think that we could do something like that with height. I don't really know how it would work exactly, but I think it's something that brands in the industry should do. For example, when I bought my current snowboard at the start of the year, I bought a 150cm Burton Custom, and it had a weight range for that size as 50 kilograms to 70 kilograms as the recommended rider weight. Now, I'm Banksmat in the middle of that at 60, and it honestly feels like the perfect board for me. I don't realistically know if that's something that we can introduce into the scooter industry, if it would even work or not, but hopefully we can do something that would give the consumer a better idea when it comes to buying their first pro model deck or just another new deck in general. Anyway, it's time for me to go head off, have a shred on the scoot. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, learned something new. Please drop a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, comment down below what your favorite deck dimensions are, and I'll be back with another banging video later this week. Thanks for watching. Peace.